He didn't wake up one morning and decide to change his life. What woke him up was the weight in his chest when he opened his banking app and saw the same number again. Negative. Suffocating. $50,000 in debt. Not because of one catastrophic mistake, but because of years of quiet decisions made in survival mode. Each swipe of a card had once felt harmless. Each justification had felt reasonable. But standing there, staring at that number, he felt something deeper than fear. He felt exposed. As if his financial life was finally reflecting a truth he had avoided for years. The problem wasn't the money. It was how he thought about it. And a thought crossed his mind that would later haunt him in a productive way. Discipline ICT about restriction. It's about identity. Debt had become background noise in his life. Bills arrived, minimum payments were made, and the cycle continued. He told himself he was doing his best. He worked hard. He showed up. But at night, alone with his phone, he scrolled through other people's lives, vacations, new cars, freedom, and felt the familiar mix of envy and resignation. He wasn't irresponsible, he told himself. Just unlucky. Just stuck. Yet deep down, there was a quieter voice asking an uncomfortable question. If effort alone was enough, why did nothing change? What he didn't realize then was that every small avoidance was shaping his financial identity. Ignoring statements, delaying decisions, choosing temporary comfort over long-term relief. The debt wasn't just a number. It was a psychological contract he kept signing with his future self. And every time he chose ease over awareness, that future felt further away. There were nights when the anxiety became physical. Tight shoulders, shallow breathing. That moment before sleep when your mind replays everything you're avoiding. He would promise himself that tomorrow he'd look at everything properly. Tomorrow he'd make a plan. Tomorrow he'd be different. But tomorrow always arrived carrying the same habits. And slowly, a dangerous belief formed that this was just how life was going to be. But what happened next didn't look dramatic from the outside. There was no promotion, no sudden windfall, no viral success story. Instead, there was a moment of quiet humiliation. Sitting at his desk, opening every statement, adding every balance, seeing the full picture without flinching. His hands shook slightly, not from the amount, but from the realization that he had been living disconnected from reality. And strangely, beneath the discomfort, there was relief. Because clarity, even painful clarity, was better than avoidance. He began to notice something unsettling. Every time he felt stressed, he spent. Not recklessly, but emotionally. Small rewards, justifications disguised as self-care. And he finally admitted what he had never said out loud before. Money had become his emotional regulator. Not a tool, not a strategy, a coping mechanism. And that realization quietly changed how he saw himself. Around this point, let me pause for a second. If this story already feels uncomfortably familiar, if you've ever felt that quiet pressure money puts on your identity, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Not as a favor, but as a way of choosing to stay present for this conversation. Sometimes growth starts by deciding not to scroll away. The shift didn't happen all at once. In fact, it felt frustratingly slow. He didn't attack the debt aggressively at first. He attacked his reactions. When stress showed up, he paused instead of spending. When comparison crept in, he reminded himself that other people's timelines were irrelevant to his responsibilities. He began tracking every dollar, not with obsession, but with respect. Money stopped being an enemy and started becoming information. There was one realization he only understood much later. Paying off debt wasn't about becoming more motivated. It was about becoming someone who didn't need motivation to act responsibly. He stopped asking, "How do I get out of debt faster?" and started asking, "Who do I need to become so debt no longer fits my identity?" Progress came quietly. Balances dropped slowly. Sacrifices felt boring, not heroic. There were months when it felt like nothing changed, but internally, something was stabilizing. He trusted himself more. He stopped negotiating with short-term comfort. Delayed gratification no longer felt like punishment. It felt like self-respect. What followed challenged everything he believed about success. Freedom didn't arrive when the debt hit zero. It arrived earlier, the moment he stopped panicking when thinking about money. The moment he realized he was no longer running from his finances, but leading them. When the final balance disappeared, there was no celebration. Just calm, and a strange sense that the real victory had already happened. Looking back, he understood something most people never pause long enough to see. Debt had forced him to grow an identity he should have developed earlier. Patient, grounded, emotionally regulated, long-term oriented. The money lesson was temporary. The mindset shift was permanent. And if you're listening to this wondering where to start, maybe it's not with spreadsheets or strategies. Maybe it's with asking yourself a harder question. Are your financial habits protecting your comfort or your future? If this story resonated with you, if you feel that quiet internal shift starting, you can continue this journey by exploring the psychological materials mentioned in the description and comments, including how to develop a millionaire mindset, not as a shortcut, but as a way to deepen the identity you're already building. And if this channel speaks to where you are right now, consider liking the video and subscribing, not for content, but for consistency. Because the moment he changed how he thought about money, he changed who he was becoming.